What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Now we're on a backup page for TikTok, so this is just a. We're just going to do a little bit of what do you call it? One of those shoot the shit type of conversations. Tim Walz actually spoke today, and we're going to cover some of this. We're just on here mainly. I want to get the opinion of the folks. What did you think in regards to Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, now the vice presidential, the presumptive Democratic nominee for vice president? So, did any of you folks, by the way, did any of you hear the speech he gave this afternoon or this evening? Personally, yours truly, I thought it was fairly inspirational. I thought he did a pretty good job. But I want to hear you folks. What did you think of Tim Walz? And do you think she made the best choice when you had the likes of Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, what is his name? Senator Kelly of Arizona, Bashar of Kentucky? Do you think Tim Walz was the best choice? Because a lot of folks believe, and thank you for that yellow sunflower. Thank you for the congratulations on the subscription number. I do appreciate that. So what do you folks think? Do you think Tim Walz is a good speaker? Communist for Harris, J. West. So I'm assuming you don't favor you don't favor Vice President Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. You say communist for Harris. So this is a 3-minute clip as many of you folks begin filtering in. We're gonna be talking about some of this, but I do want to hear what's your opinion on Governor Tim Walz.
I can't wait to debate the guy.
Quick interruption. Talk about, Trump often brags about crowd size. The crowd size for this particular rally was awesome. Huge crowd there to hear Tim Walz give his first speech. Look at that applause. Look at that lengthy applause.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
And that right there, this is Tim Walz, by the way. Now, what happened is when Tim Walz got the call and was notified that he was going to be the pick for Kamala Harris, he told them he doesn't have a teleprompter. They had to send him a teleprompter. Meaning he's been doing his own political speeches. He's been in politics almost 20 years. He does them without the teleprompter. So for you folks on the right that often suggest, Biden or even Kamala Harris for that matter, cannot speak without a teleprompter, he doesn't have one. Governor Tim Walz, they had to send him one. He had not been using a teleprompter. So that is quite interesting. And you hear him throw this punchline about he can't wait to debate JD Vance, but JD Vance has to get off the couch. I think we all know what he's referring to.
Off the couch and show up. So you see what I did there?
Look at the length of applause. Wow.
Look.
It's impressive, seems like.
I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
Now the creepy and weird as hell line. Now he is the one that authored that. He is the one that authored they're weird. So that may have had something to do, with him being picked. That not much, but at the end of the day, he is certainly capable of fighting and punching back. But he is the one that was the first one to coin the line that Trump and JD Vance are weird.
That's what you see.
It's
But
only
you know
3 minutes
what's out
long.
there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back.
Now, we know the "we aren't going back" line is in reference to some of the policies being promised by Trump, J.D. Vance, and just essentially the right in general are policies that we used to use in this country in years past. Certainly some of the abortion bans, Christianity in schools now, a lot of this stuff is what some folks would say trying to take us back to a bygone era. So the left has now kind of taken upon the phrase "we are not going back." So we're going to talk about that as well.
So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead.
Now, that's a military line. 24 years in the Army National Guard. JD Vance has 24 years in the Army National Guard. You can sleep when you're dead. That's something straight out of the military. He says, 90 days until election day. 90 days is easy. We can sleep when we're dead. That's a hell of a line. One more time.
So we got 91 days.
91.
My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead.
I mean, he had a lot of punchlines. I only got 3 minutes of this clip. And the amount of punchlines, even for 3 minutes of time.
Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day.
And that's an interesting one, too, where he says he'll have Vice President Harris's back because Trump was asked, would J.D. Vance be ready on day one? And he couldn't answer that question. Not only could he not answer that question, President Trump basically stated, not basically, but he did state, it doesn't even matter who you pick for VP. So he's certainly delivering a totally different okay, hang on a second for you folks on YouTube, my TikTok feed, I gotta reset the feed. But I do want to hear from you folks on YouTube rather. If I can get everything going, I want to hear from you folks on YouTube. What do you think?
Final day to
Give me a second to reset the live on TikTok. We're talking about your opinion, and you certainly can put that in the comments. We're talking about your opinion on JD Vance. I'm gonna switch this account. I don't know what just happened on TikTok, but we'll switch it over and go straight to live. We're not even going to type in a show name. We're just going to go straight to live. All right, looking on YouTube at the comments. Really good speech, says Safety King. I think a lot of folks believe it was a good speech. I think a lot of folks believe that. This country is so focused on identity politics. First Black woman is all the merit she needs, even though she's not qualified. James, I think that says Choate. I guess the response is, what are the qualifications to become president? What are the because a lot of folks are stating the same thing you're suggesting, is that Kamala Harris is not qualified. What are the qualifications? I mean, if you had to list qualifications on what is required to become president, what would they be? So I don't know if I totally agree with that. I mean, she has an extensive background in law. She was in the Senate for 4 years. I mean, I would use Barack Obama, but I gotta assume anyone who believes that Kamala Harris is not qualified would also believe that Barack Obama was not qualified to be president either. Because Kamala Harris I tend to think her resume is stronger than what Barack Obama's was, and he was an effective president for 8 years, for 2 terms. So when folks suggest that Kamala Harris is not qualified, what are the required qualifications? What do you need? But God, I'm gonna read the next comment in a minute. But also, was Trump qualified to be president simply because he was good in business? If we're going to suggest that Trump was a good businessman, so that makes him a good president or a good presidential contender, that means that Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, do you just automatically assume, because they're all far more successful than Trump ever has been? Do you believe that Bill Gates, how many of you folks believe that Mark Zuckerberg will be a good president? I bet you don't buy into that. Warren Buffett, he was certainly a far more successful president, or better yet, businessman than Trump. So what are the qualifications to become president? Because everybody is suggesting rather, Kamala Harris is not qualified. I don't know what the qualifications would be. Her family was the largest and wealthiest slave owners and slave traders in Jamaica, and they were Irish, Jamaican, and her mother is Indian. She is not African American. That's actually not true, James. That's not true. The island of Jamaica is part of the slave trade. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you do an ancestry.com background on, most of the Jamaicans that are my complexion, they came from Africa. They were part of the slave trade as well. The Americas were not the only continent that received slaves from Africa. Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, all of those little Caribbean islands, I believe the Bahamas, all of them folks, if you trace their ancestry, they came from Africa. She's not African American, but she is of African descent. You think Jamaica just started on its own? She's not black, she's Jamaican and Indian. Jamaicans are of African descent. I'm just telling you that. And that's one of the problems, because our history did not really discuss what the goings on many other continents. Our history, the way we're taught history in this country is pretty much taught based on American exceptionalism. So we don't generally know the leaders and the goings on in other countries or how they were developed or any of that. They don't teach you that in American history in this country. But the Jamaicans are of African descent. They're of African descent. I would also submit this statement for folks who suggest that Kamala is not black, she's Indian and Jamaican. Now, Kamala was born in America. If you are Irish, Scottish, German, French, if your parents came from any of those countries I just named, let's say your mom was born in Scotland, moved to the United States, met an American, and gave birth to you, you're going to be considered an American because that's where you were born, and you're going to be considered white. Nobody's going to call you Scottish or any of that crap where your parents came from. You're going to be a white American. If your mom came over here from Germany and gave birth to you in the United States, you are officially an American, and you're going to be referred to as white. That's it. That's it. Nobody's going to walk around calling you German because your mom is German. So fact is, Kamala Harris is a black woman. That's it. She's a black woman. What her parents were, which were Indian or of Jamaican descent, she was born here, though. She's born here. So she's American. Right off the bat, she is American. And once you're American, you only get really one of four choices. You're white, black, Asian, or Hispanic. That's it. You're white, black, Asian, or Hispanic. Every white person in America has an ancestry that's from somewhere else that's likely other than the United States, somewhere usually on the continent of Europe. How many white Americans go around calling themselves German or Irish or French or Russian or Ukrainian? No, if you were born here, you are American and you're going to be calling yourself white. So I don't understand why with Kamala, you break it back down to the country she's from when she was born here. She's not Indian. She's not Jamaican. She's American. And she's a black American. That's the way it's always been. I don't know why people are changing the game up now. As I mentioned earlier, let's go back to the days of yesteryear. Let's go back to the days when America was a little bit less free for people of color. When it came to drinking from separate water fountains or sitting in certain sections of the bus or only eating at certain restaurants. What water fountain would Kamala Harris be drinking from? You think Kamala Harris could have went and drank from the white water fountain and said, I'm not black? You think it would have worked then? You think she could have sat in the front of the bus and let Rosa Parks sit in the back and told the driver, I'm not white, I'm not black? You think it would have worked? So why is it working now? What's the difference? So I do want to point that out. She is certainly black. She is a black American. You can say if you want, if it makes you feel better, you can say she's not African American, but she is a black American. Once you come to this country, once you are born in this country, she was not born in India. She was not born in Jamaica. So she's not Indian, nor is she Jamaican. She is American. And as I stated, there's only 4 types of Americans: blacks, whites, Hispanics, and Asians. That's it. There is no other. We don't call people in this country by some other foreign nation that represents their ancestry. Otherwise you'd be calling everybody. We don't do that. So I don't understand why she's getting it. Looking at the comments though, dude's a joke, says Fresh Take 01. Are you suggesting that yours truly is a joke, or are you suggesting that Tim Walz is a joke? Let me know. She is a person, not a color, says JV. Well, I think the issue is this. We have went in America, we have sectionalized things based on color for so long that the individuals who started separating everybody by color are now trying, because listen, the colored folks in this country, the black folks in this country weren't the ones that done this stuff. This stuff came from the one drop rule, meaning if you got 1 drop of black blood in your body, you're black. That didn't come from black folks. All of a sudden now, the blacks in this country are actually following the rules that were created by whites, and the whites don't like it all of a sudden. That's what I'm hearing. I'm not with the identity politics bullshit. I was just making a point about all these cheerleaders all of a sudden for camel toe. I don't care what color you are if you're the best person for the job. Well, if you don't care what color people are, if you're the best, I would suggest you tell your party. I'm assuming you lean right if you're referring to Kamala Harris as camel toe. Your party is the one that's using color to separate folks. Even when Nikki Haley was running, what did folks do? They started calling her by her real name to otherize her. Nikki Haley in Republican circles has been Nikki Haley the whole damn time. Minute she runs against Trump, they're suddenly calling her by her real native Indian name to otherize her. They did something similar to Vivek Ramaswamy. Now I'm hearing that they're doing it to the wife of J.D. Vance, which is likely why Josh Shapiro didn't get picked, because he would likely have been otherized. Now, it's not all happening from the Republicans. The Democrats right now, with the war in Israel, are also fairly anti-Jewish right now. So my guess is the reason Josh Shapiro didn't get picked is because he is of Jewish descent. Going to the box, I'm asking that question. What do you guys think of Tim Walz? Zaddy, good evening if the box brings you up. Zaddy, good evening.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much. Good to have you on.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I think I woke the dogs up upstairs. Sorry. I just was flipping by. I've seen you. Sorry, I got to go downstairs. So
yeah, you got some big ones over there, sound like.
Just 2 Bernedoodles. They're just obnoxious, harmless. Yeah, I mean, I've seen your lives a bunch of times. I've flipped through, tried to get up with you a couple times.
Well, good to have you on tonight.
So I just hit a flyer, and you got me quick. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm excited about this. I don't consider myself a Democrat or a liberal. I consider myself progressive.
No. But if you're progressive, you overwhelmingly will identify with the Democratic Party when it comes down to voting.
Yeah. Well, they definitely align more with. Right. But I mean, I'm even left of them. I want to do more things. You know what I mean? Like, I want stricter gun control. I want, there's a bunch of things.
You're essentially.
I'm excited about him.
Yeah, you're essentially like a libertarian to the Republican Party. No. Hold on, hang on. I'm not saying your politics are aligned with libertarians at all. What I'm saying is you're a libertarian to the Republican Party, meaning you have a different mind frame, but the libertarians tend to vote Republican. That's who closely identifies with them. Progressives vote Democrat because that's who closely.
Maybe that's a good analogy,
yeah.
Right? I'm not libertarian, but it might be a good analogy in reference to the party.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. But I think that for a lot of Americans, I said this to my wife earlier, I think to a lot of Americans, whether good or bad, okay, I'm not making a judgment, I'm not passing a judgment on that, okay, on this, but military service adds a lot of legitimacy, right? And you have one side of the ticket, or the one ticket is, you know, a draft dodger, and one that was a Yale, you know, I mean, talk about being, you know, the upper class, right?
Did J.D. Vance? Does he have any military background?
No, and he went to Yale, and he was Peter Thiel was his, you know, the hedge fund manager was his, you know, backer. So, and then you have, you know, Kamala, who served as a district attorney, who served as a senator, whose life was of service.
Hold on,
right?
and I'm looking at the comments. Are you sure that J.D. Vance? Folks are saying he was in the Marines.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. Okay, I misspoke. I believe.
Okay,
yeah,
that's important.
I believe you're right. Yes,
that's important.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Some folks say he went to war.
Yeah, I misspoke. Yeah. You're right. I stand corrected. But I think, you know, okay, even to that, even if that's true, okay, I can see that I said that incorrectly. This man, Tim Walz, was the highest enlisted member of the House of Representatives ever.
Yeah, but I will say that
anybody who knows anything about the military knows that's almost impossible to do.
Yeah,
that's almost like becoming a 4 or 5 star general.
Yeah, but I will say that Tim Walz was Army National Guard, whereas so it's I understand. So
but I mean that means he go. You know, when I was in high school, I was in the National Guard before I went away to active duty. I went to basic training between my junior and senior year of high school, and then was in a National Guard unit up in New England. My senior year. So those guys go away for 2 weeks. They commit a weekend a year, a weekend a month, and they get sent away just like everybody else. I mean, I believe. Do you know? Did Tim Walz deploy? I think he did, but maybe I don't know 100%.
I don't know, but I mean, I still got to assume that and I'm not military, so I don't want to overstep my boundary here, but I would have.
I only did 4 years, so I'm not like a lifer or anything.
Yeah, but you're a veteran. I mean, you did 4 years. You put in some service.
99, so but my point is it feels like a lifetime ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the point being made. Folks in the National Guard, with the exception of what happened during Iraq, they don't normally do combat. They don't. Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends on when his 24 years was, because if it was during or after 9/11, then it was likely that he probably had to deploy at least once. But maybe not. I could be. I don't know everything about him yet, right? But what I'm getting from him is a guy who, excuse my French, but isn't going to take the bullshit. He's just, you know what I mean? He's just not going to take, like, they're going to say stuff, and he's just going to be like, no, I mean, it's like, I mean, whatever you think of it, he's been dealing with, it looked like high school kids or whatever.
Yeah.
For however many years. So he's
also a football coach too.
He's used to be dealing with petulant children, right?
Yeah, he was a football coach as well.
Right, exactly. And so that's gotta resonate, you know, with hopefully some of these guys down in Texas and you know, these macho football guys. Well, this guy won his high school state championship. Like, that's nothing to scoff at.
You sound like Al Bundy when you say that. 4 touchdowns in a game, and he brought it up. He brought up his state championship. Go Al Bundy.
You know, but I'm just saying, like, it might resonate with some of those guys, and like,
yeah.
And the other thing is he's going to, and the women, a lot of these wives of MAGA, while they may tolerate the speech at home and everything, their husband is not in the voting booth with them.
I heard another woman said that earlier today, the same thing, that they may tell their husbands they're going to do one thing to please him, but when they get in the voting booth, they may go the other way.
I mean, I think there's a fair chance of it happening. I mean, we're talking about incremental numbers, right? We're talking about changing. Georgia was 11,000 votes, right? So we're only talking about changing fractional amounts of the electorate have large effects, right? I mean, you can't tell me that Taylor Swift having concerts in Louisiana, Indiana, and Florida in the 3 weeks coming up to the election and having huge voter registration setups at those things. I just went to Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins at Nats Park in DC, and they had a big voter, registration thing. But Taylor Swift is that's like the main reason that she's doing these concerts.
I did not know that. I didn't know she was holding concerts in all those red areas.
The 3 weeks leading up to the election, I don't know what order they're in, but I know that it's Louisiana, Indiana, and Florida. So you have, let's say that those are 60,000 person crowds, right? And let's say that half of them are underage. Okay, so you only have 30,000 per show that are actually in the electorate, right? Well, she does 3 shows. That's 90,000 people that she could potentially sway in each state.
Yeah, she certainly is going to make a difference. But I gotta move it on, Zach. There's no denying that Taylor Swift is on the side, the anti-Trump side. I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on though.
Yeah, no problem. Well, hey, nice chatting with you. Aaron. All I've got to say is build that walls. Build that walls.
I like that. Build that walls with a Z. Appreciate you coming on. All right, thank you. And real quick in the comments, I do want to, before I go back to the bots, one of the comments, somebody asked, Kaja Mabanzo, I think that's what it says. What asking me, by the way, because I know I used to do rideshare videos. So for some of you folks that may be new subscribers, I don't know if YouTube will send you some of my older videos, but I used to do long form videos as a rideshare driver on some of the unfair things that happen to rideshare drivers. Why am I bringing that up? Well, in the comments on YouTube, one of my, I suppose, rideshare viewers asked, what are your thoughts since you was talking about how he screwed rideshare drivers over time? And Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, made some real bad moves, in my opinion, in regards to benefiting the pay for rideshare drivers. And I made some videos about Tim Walz earlier this year, and I had some pretty choice words to say, and I still believe what he did for rideshare drivers was unfavorable. So I'm not a fan of that at all. However, as I said in many of my in many of my rideshare videos, if you're going to get any help at all, when we talk about rideshare, we talk about Uber and Lyft. They don't get paid shit. They get treated horrible. There's very little to no regulation in ride sharing. So you know what happens when an employer has no regulation. People don't get paid very well. Well, I said this in most of my videos. If you ever hear of anybody fighting on behalf of rideshare drivers, Uber, Lyft drivers, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, it's almost always in a liberal area. Seattle got their drivers $1.50 a mile. New York has gotten their drivers a raise. They were fighting in Minnesota. They finally got it. I don't want to get too deep into ride sharing, but what I always say in my videos is I have yet to hear of a single Republican politician posing or enacting legislation to benefit drivers. Not one Republican politician. And I was speaking on behalf of drivers. I don't care if the help is coming from the right or the left. I was fighting for drivers to get paid better. I was on the side of drivers. A lot of drivers get carjacked and murdered in the Uber and Lyft world. And the only politicians fighting on behalf of drivers were coming from the Democratic liberal side of the aisle. But Tim Walz, in my opinion, I didn't like what he did. So that's the answer to that question. Anyhow, going back to the actual topic, which is how do you feel about Kamala Harris picking Tim Walz. Rideshare drivers aren't rich enough to get the attention of Republicans. They're not really rich enough to get the attention of Democrats either, but Democrats tend to be more on the salaries for people who are lower on the totem pole. For instance, if you hear somebody fighting for a minimum wage, you can pretty much tell what politician that is. If you're ever hearing for someone that's fighting for employees to get health care, employees to get time off, I mean, almost all of the fights for employees to be allowed to unionize, almost all of the fights for entry-level employees come from liberal politicians. The right is more favorable to big business. Now, I'm not going to say that there's no reason to vote for the Republican Party. If you own a small business or a big business and you don't want to be forced to give your employees a minimum wage increase, you don't want to be forced to have to give them health care or forced to let them unionize, you should vote Republican. They are more favorable to big business than the Liberal Party is. I don't think there's any denying that. Look in the comments, though. The right believes in work for what you have. Now, they believe in you working, but they don't necessarily believe in you being rewarded properly if you work. If you're working for a corporation that you're working your ass off for a corporation that ain't paying you like shit, the right does not believe in making that corporation pay you a decent wage. The right will tell you if you don't believe you're getting paid properly, quit and find a different job. The right is not very favorable to the working class. It's up to you. We're going to let the free market decide. And if they are not treating you right, we're not going to throw you a lifeline at all. You should be smart enough to quit and find another job somewhere else. That's kind of how the right will tell you. You're the idiot for continuing to working for them. You're not going to get a lot of help. That's the way I look at it. You get paid what you're worth, says Sandra. That's not true. You're telling me every American is getting paid what they're worth? You don't think any Americans are being underpaid? By way of yes or no in the comments, how many of you folks believe you're underpaid at your job? All of you folks believe your corporation is paying you what you're worth? Really? Okay. Looking at the comments, protecting, I see everybody like, yes, I'm underpaid. What do you mean? Okay. Underpaid and overworked. Exactly. Let me go back to the box. You're paid what you're worth. Depends on where you work at. Mark Croson. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Walz's harsh thought the left was against that. Yeah, well, not all of them. The left, we tried to, when they go low, you go high under Michelle Obama. And I think the left got enough of a taste to see that was not working, because Trump just kept going lower and lower. And a lot of folks on the left was like, when are we going to hit back? Well, Kamala and Walz is the answer to that. Mark, good evening.
Yeah, I think Walz is going to have problems. He went AWOL when he was over 1,700 men before deployment. He skipped out. I think that's going to hurt a lot of his base. I think Kamala's history with Willie Brown's going to come back up and hurt her.
Wait. Let me separate it. I'll let you continue, but let's separate it. We certainly want to talk about the AWOL thing because I haven't heard about that. But in regards to Kamala Harris's history with Willie Brown, all of the sexual exploits with Trump and cheating on his wife and things like that, and you think Willie Brown is going to hurt Kamala Harris?
Sure, because she wasn't qualified for the position that he promoted her to, and I think that it's going to show that she didn't earn her original position.
How do you know she wasn't qualified? You know what her resume was at the time?
Because she was 20 years old when she was dating somebody that was 60, and then a year later, after law school, she was promoted to a district attorney. Okay, that doesn't happen.
So then here's a simple pushback. Do you believe Trump's children were qualified for those White House jobs?
I think they had the business experience and their relationships of over 10 years, 15 years of experience in business that could show that they could negotiate deals. So yes.
So how do you respond to the fact that the FBI would not even grant Jared Kushner clearance because of some of his overseas contacts, and Trump forced them to let him in anyway? They didn't even think, they thought he was a security risk.
Yeah, I've never heard that. It's the first time I've ever heard
that. And first time I'm hearing what you say. We're teaching each other. I'm learning from you too. First time I've ever heard that Tim Walz went AWOL as well.
Yeah, it's all over the news right now. They're talking about it. You could Google it. There's articles that are written about it from 2018 where his own people in his own unit called him a traitor and everything else.
Okay, I'd certainly like to look that up. But what about the notion? Because we're doing a little deflecting here. I'm admitting I'm doing a little bit of that. But there are rumors that Trump dodged the draft due to bone spurs. Have you heard that one?
Well, I don't know if that's dodging or if that's just the excuse that he gave. Regardless of which, he didn't go into the draft because he had an injury. And if you've ever had a bone spur, you can't walk without feeling like you've got you're stepping on.
How did Tim Walz get the promotions he got if he won AWOL?
Oh no, he had served for over 20 years, and then when it came time to deployment, he dropped.
You said AWOL. That ain't dropping. That's absent without leave.
Well, correct. He left, and then a year later he applied to be a congressman.
Okay, but did he break any military laws?
I think the fact that he went out before deployment is what that's based off of. That was his again and bouncing.
Okay, because I'm on Google right now. I typed Tim Walz AWOL. I don't get anything. I have not heard of this. I mean, I'm not. Nothing's coming up. Seems like that would be huge news if he went AWOL. I googled Tim Walz AWOL. Nothing's coming up.
When you click on the news tab, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's all over my news feed.
Where? Give me some sources. What news outfits are you looking at?
Well, I was looking at reports and again, if I get off here, it's going to start echoing back.
No, just give me. I mean, just give me the name of the news source. Were you watching?
I saw it was like on a Minnesota Tribune or something website or something that was talking about it. Something directly where he's from.
Well, you said it was all over the place, so it's got to be. You should have several sources. I haven't, like I said, I googled it.
News next on your tab. If you're on Google, just click news and then click.
Yeah, here's what I'm getting. In a letter posted to Facebook in 2018 as he ran for governor, retired Command Sergeant Major Thomas Benhart and Peter Hurt said Walz retired from his 24-year tenure in the National Guard after learning that his battalion would be deployed in Iraq, despite allegedly assuring his fellow troops he would join them. That's the closest I've found, is that he retired to avoid deployment, I guess, but it was his option to do so. It wasn't like he broke any laws. I mean, he had been in the military for 24 years and opted to drop out.
Did you serve in the military?
No.
Would you want your son to be trained and led by a commander, and then right before he's deployed, the guy drops? Would you respect that person?
Do I ignore the previous 24 years he served?
No, I mean, no, not at all.
I don't think that. I think there's a lot of good men that if they were given an option to retire as a, because remember, he's in there for 20 plus years already. You're going to sit, you're talking about going to war after being already in there for 24 years. My guess is a lot of people in the military that are respectable, so in Navy men and sailors and airmen would retire if they ain't going to go into combat after already being in for 24. He's already been in there for damn near a quarter century, and now you're saying he should have went to combat?
I would want him to lead, correct.
Okay. Well, I don't think that that's a decision so bad that I would hold that. I mean, you've given the military almost a quarter of a century of your life, and now we're in combat, and we're going to know you should continue going. I mean, it's given them 24 years already.
Well, again, that's why we're having a conversation. Right? It's a dialogue. Yeah. There's a lot of people that feel like he quit as men.
Yeah. I don't know. I originally you said AWOL, though. I'll say this. I don't believe, maybe I'm wrong and maybe you are right, but I don't believe that's going to hurt him that bad. I really don't. I mean, he got 24 years and he retired. I mean, he retired right when they were going into combat, but listen, if I got an option to leave as opposed to going to a combat zone after a quarter century of my life, I don't see where it's that bad to do it.
Okay. That's why we're having a conversation. Yeah. Right? Everybody's entitled to their
And I appreciate that. But in regards to Kamala Harris, though, and that Willie Brown thing, like how many years ago? Is that like 40 plus years ago?
Correct.
Yeah, when Trump was I remember when Trump was president, folks bringing up things that was in Trump's past, and the common response was, "I don't care what he did before he became president. I only care about what he's doing for the country while he's in office." All of a sudden, Trump is preceded by Biden. The crime bill from the '90s comes up. Kamala Harris gets in there. Now we're bringing up things that are 40 years ago. I haven't heard MAGA critical of anything in Trump's past before he was president. Not one thing.
And calls Trump out for sleeping on, cheating on his wife, but yet she was the other woman in her situation.
Right.
I think that's the problem that we have.
It's hypocritical.
Now it's a lot about whataboutism, and people are looking for consistency. So if you're going to call Trump all these bad things because he cheated on his wife, well, if you're the other woman in that situation, what are you? And are you willing to take the heat as well too? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I don't disagree with you that there may be some hypocrisy there, but we are talking about, Stormy Daniels is a hell of a lot more recent than Willie Brown. But I agree with you, there may be some hypocrisy for calling out the Trump side when you got a history of cheating back when you were a 20-year-old. I mean, if we want to look at it like that, but as I stated, the right doesn't give a damn about Trump cheating. So I would say the right is going to have the least amount of credibility in bringing up that she cheated.
Even in the guy that she married, he cheated on her to be with Kamala. Her husband Doug, his ex-wife, just wrote a letter saying that they all get along now and everything else. And so, that's what I'm saying is can we avoid the hypocrisy, and can we see that, hey, everybody has junk in their past, or is it going to come back and hurt them and say, well, what about this? I'm not saying that. I'm just asking the question because I think that I
don't think you originally started out by saying the A-Wall was going to hurt Tim Walz and Willie Brown was going to hurt Kamala. In my opinion, if Willie Brown was going to hurt Kamala, it would have hurt her with the Senate. It would have hurt her because in California, where she was continuing to get these legal promotions, that's where that happened at. It clearly was not hurt in California because she kept climbing the ranks, kept getting reelected. Then she came out and became senator. I'm sure that her opponent brought it up then. It didn't hurt her.
Respectfully, sir, that's one progressive state that is changing a lot of things that were once objective and now subjective. Well, they don't care if people have open marriages. They don't care if people cheat on anybody. It's a different mindset in California than 49 other states.
Yeah, but Alabama. Yeah, you're correct. California is very progressive, but Alabama is anything but progressive, and they're voting for Trump, and they know he had multiple marriages and indiscretions. I don't think anybody cares is the point I'm making, progressive or otherwise.
And that you're actually, again, making the point. So why do we bring these things up? Why are they important? And then why is it okay to bring it out in one candidate and beat them over the head with it, but then when somebody else has that same history, we're supposed to look the other way? Why is that?
Because people demonize. When Hillary Clinton was running for office, President Trump flew all of Bill Clinton's accusers to the Democratic convention and sat him in the front row. He was doing it back then. He was using Bill Clinton's indiscretions against his wife when he was running. He did it back then. So then he became president, and then people did it to him. Now he's being followed with Kamala Harris, and it's happening again. In all of those cases, it don't matter.
Didn't he do that because Hillary basically gave those women the riot act and marginalized them and made them look terrible for being attacked and over the years as well?
I don't know why he did it, but flying all of her accusers to the Democratic National Convention, whatever Hillary Clinton did to them, doing that is not justified. That's not justified to do that. To fly all of them and sit them in the front row, no.
So what do you? I've only caught you a couple of times. I'm just curious. Are you? Do you know who you're voting for? Are you sticking with the liberal side, or are you leaning more conservative? Where are you at?
I'm moderate to left. I don't think everything about Trump is bad by any means. I think on paper he deserved a second term. However, I do believe the Trump we're getting in 2024 is totally different than the Trump in 2016. And I always point out that he's offering to give police immunity from prosecution if he is elected. He didn't do that the first time. For me, that one issue is a deal breaker because I drive all day for a living, and I don't want to be pulled over by a cop that has immunity.
Right? How do you feel about him giving people in the gig economy the ability not to have to declare their
I like it. If he can do that, I like that. But I'm not going to trade police immunity for it because the people in the gig economy are driving all day. Those people encounter cops too.
Right. And what is it about the left? What is it about them that is attractive to you as an adult male?
Well, right now they're not offering to give police immunity. It's probably the most attractive thing about them altogether.
Okay, so that one thing is enough to
yeah. Yeah, for somebody who drives all day long, the idea of being pulled over by a cop that has full immunity could be my life. That's way more important than $2 gas or a good economy. Getting pulled over by a cop that can literally do anything to you, I can't think of anything more important than that.
No, and I agree with that. I didn't say, I haven't heard him speak on that actually. Where can I find that?
You probably can find it right here. Give me a second. I'll see if I can bring it up and let you hear it because I've played it on here several times. And like I said, for me, I can't think of anything else that scares me more than this. All right, let me turn on my sound system here because I'm amazed at how many people have actually not heard it.
We're going to rebuild our cities and become a beacon of hope, safety, beauty, better than ever before. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to work with Democrat mayors who are running in every instance, running them, Democrat mayors and many Democrat governors. And we're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
I don't know what job the police needs to do that they can't do right now that they need immunity from prosecution for. And notice he didn't say rural Alabama or rural Mississippi. He said liberal cities. Who commits all the crime in liberal cities? Black people. So it's going to be a bunch of African Americans dealing with cops that have complete immunity. That's the way I'm hearing it. That's frightening to me. What say you?
No, that is scary. I'm actually biracial, so I've experienced both sides of the law, not only personally and to my family as well too. So that would be very scary to think that a police officer could do anything that he wants to somebody and just be immune to it because he's on the job. So
right. So that right there, $2 gas, a good economy. None of that's going to overtake that. I mean, to me, that right there supersedes anything you could ever do with the economy. I mean, because I may not live to spend that money. So,
is there any other context after that, or is that just it? Is there anything? Is there besides that one video? Is there anything else that he's written, or any other policies that he's talked about that?
I mean, maybe, but as far as I'm concerned, I heard enough. I don't know what's stopping the police from doing whatever they need to do that you need to get them immunity from prosecution. I don't think there's any further I need to dig in to the context of it. As far as I'm concerned, you said enough right there.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, I've never heard of that. I probably need to dig into that because, unfortunately, I don't know if you do. If you edit your own videos or your own content, I don't trust.
That's fine. Google it, look it up, Bing it, whatever source you use, Duck or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and look it up. I got to move it on, but you can certainly come on the program anytime, challenge me, correct me. I'll concede the point if you come up with it. But as you see, regardless of the source, he's on camera using his mouth to tell it to you. So it doesn't matter if it's filmed by MSNBC or anybody. You're seeing it come out of his mouth.
I'm just looking for something deeper. I mean, he could have been referring to, I want police to have immunity because, there are people that get shot at and they shoot back and then they're, being prosecuted for assault or murder and they don't have a right, they need immunity because of those things. When we take it to the extreme and we're talking about, when people have been, had their lives lost, then right, they need to go through the trial.
Yeah, but
Mark,
I agree with you that police face, have a dangerous job and they get shot. But that doesn't only happen in liberal cities. Notice in his statement, he's only talking about liberal cities, as if nobody gets shot in Alabama or Mississippi. The fact that he singled out liberal cities makes it more egregious, in my opinion.
Was he? And I know you have to go, but I don't know where he was at. I don't know if he was speaking to a liberal ran.
He's in Wisconsin. He's in Wisconsin.
And are they pretty red or are they pretty blue or?
They're a swing state.
Right. So he's doing, unfortunately, what Trump does. He's speaking out like a normal politician. He's speaking outside of both sides of his mouth. And I think that's, and what he's saying. And I don't want to speak for the man, but what I hear then at that point is he's saying we're going to work with everybody, but we're also going to make sure that the police have the ability to police in these areas without fear of prosecution for doing their job.
You can do all of that without giving somebody immunity from prosecution.
That is amen. No, and I totally agree with that again. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me come up.
Anytime, Mark. Come on back anytime. All right, moving the program on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to have to go down the road of, trying to prosecute Trump or trying to defend Trump to the point where you got to dig deep in everything he says. He's not Confucius. He's not Shakespeare. He doesn't have to be in. Look, one of the reasons we voted for Trump allegedly was because he talks like a typical New Yorker. He shoots straight from the hip. He calls it as he sees it. Then why do you have to have all these wild interpretations for what he's saying? Why can't he speak clearly? Why do you got to hear, if Trump says 5 words, you got to listen to 500 to figure out what he's saying? I don't buy into that. I hear immunity. I'm running with immunity. I'm not going to listen to another 20 minutes to figure out what he was saying. We don't do that with Joe Biden. When Obama said, you got to spread the wealth around to Joe the plumber, nobody talked about, well, what is the context of that? When liberals talk about defunding the police, nobody asks what's the context, even though there is a context to defunding the police. So when Trump says something like that, we hold him at face value as well. He doesn't get special privileges and special treatments that we don't afford to any other politician. Looking, and I see somebody said, I hear dictator. Wow. Going back to the box, we'll keep the program on. By the way, tap the screen, folks. Get the likes up to about 40,000. We got almost 700 of you in here. We can certainly get the likes up to about 40,000. Same on YouTube. Smash that like button. I don't know what happened, what made the audience so small tonight on YouTube. Wow. But smash that like button. Maybe that'll help out with the algorithm. And somebody says they're in Minnesota. King Finn, you're in Minnesota. I did not know that. I'd like to hear what your opinion is of your governor potentially leaving your state. King Finn, good evening.
Yes, sir. What it do, handsome?
You about to lose your governor potentially. What say you?
Hey, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with losing my governor. We got a lot of people that can bag him up. We got some folks up here that can make it happen. And for all of y'all in the chat that's hating on Tim Walz, keep his name out your mouth. Make sure you keep Big Gret's name out your mouth.
Big who? Wait. Big who?
Big Gretchen Whitmer out of Michigan. Keep Big Gret's name out your mouth too. You know what I'm saying? Keep both their names out your mouth. Stop hating. It's all good. Did she make a pick? A good pick? Hell yeah, she did. All y'all talking about that draft or that AWOL bullshit. Keep it. I'm in Minnesota. I read the paper every fucking morning. Nothing like that's in the paper. It didn't happen. Stop playing with yourself. It's all on Newsmax, all on OAN, all on bullshit Republican bullshit Republican sources who are trying to do the same thing that they are doing to Kamala, the same thing that they did to fucking Obama with the birtherism shit. It's all the same thing. It's a bunch of bullshit to stir up that bullshit base hairs. Keep that MAGA moron bullshit to yourself. Nobody cares. We want the fucking job of the vice president and the fucking president to be done. We don't want nobody in there who can't get shit done. I'm tired of that shit. It's over with.
Well, I will say this. Let me interrupt to say this. If Tim Walz went AWOL, because he's been a congressman and he's been the governor of a state. If he went AWOL, you'd have knew about it by now. I mean, he would have never became governor if he did that.
Do you think he would have been able to be a congressman after going AWOL? No. He wouldn't. No, they wouldn't let him do that. Come on, man. Be for real with yourself. Stop playing with these people. It's ridiculous the amount of shit that they can bring up and start talking about anytime a liberal or a fucking Democrat says, hey, just like we don't want a democracy. Fuck you mean? What is you talking about?
Well, the thing about it is, for all intents and purposes, Tim Walz is fairly squeaky clean. I mean, there's a few things the Black Lives Matter. They're bringing up the George Floyd riots, but for the most part, his history is fairly clean.
Listen. Nobody's trying to hear that George Floyd riot shit, because the reason that Tim sat back and didn't do a lot, which he actually did do a lot. Let's keep it 100. Tim Walz actually tried to shut all of that shit down, and he wasn't doing it forcefully, okay? And I've been here when all those motherfucking gates was over off of 38th in Chicago. All of the gates was over by the fucking Federal Building downtown. All of the gates, he did all of that shit. So they can stop that shit too. Okay, the reason why Tim Walz didn't do a whole bunch of crazy shit and start fucking tear gassing and shooting motherfuckers is because he understood what the fuck we was going through. When you see a man sitting on the back of another man's neck for 9 minutes and fucking kill him, you can understand that you cannot have some type of empathy with that, thighs with that, and figure it out for your fucking self that what type of human being are you?
I will say this for folks who believe that Tim Walz did not do enough to squelch the riots after Black Lives Matter. The same folks saying that would be criticizing him if he had done something to black folks. They would be telling black folks right now, look what he did when you guys tried to riot. So it is what it is. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just another ploy, and exactly with this Willie Brown shit. Dog, are you serious? We're talking about wholesome people values. Trump has slept his way all the way through the last 3 centuries with younger women he probably shouldn't have been with. The motherfucker said I would date my daughter. That makes me want to throw up in my mouth every time I remember that he said that disgusting shit. But they have the audacity and gall to come on and say, oh, well, she slept with Willie Brown and he might have gave her a position she didn't deserve. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you think Melania needs to be first lady? Huh?
That's a good, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you being serious right now?
Are you saying that Melania Trump didn't earn the position?
I'm lying. I take that back. Because Melania having to deal with Trump's ass is enough for her to have some type of motherfucking position. Because I don't know what the hell she was doing, but Lord, I swear to God, I don't know no woman that could. She's a better one than a lot of women I know.
Well, but Trump actually, for all, to defend Trump, he was actually an attractive guy back in the day. He's tall, he's wealthy. He wasn't an ugly man back in. He's 78, so it is what it is. He's not Robert Redford.
All I know is he shits in a diaper now and no Diddy, but I ain't on that. Okay? I don't see nowhere where the fucked up comb over and the orange face tan, especially when he be doing that shit himself and it be looking half orange and half brown, like he did some Ronald McDonald shit. Yeah, I don't see where that's popping at. I'm sorry, I can't get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
All right, I gotta move it on. So at the end of the day, though, you think Walz was a good pick?
Hell yeah, Walz is a good pick. Walz, man, hey, and also I want to tell you, you might be mad at Walz for that shit he did with the drivers, right? But here, it's Uber drivers and Lyft drivers who love that man for that shit, because he actually did stand up and get them their money. Uber and Lyft was pulling out of here for real. You started to see all of the Uber Lyfts and shit pull out. You stopped seeing lots of people drive. All of that shit was happening, and he damn near told them to go on strike until Uber and Lyft start paying that money.
Yeah, that's no. Now I'm not obviously in the state, but because I was following it pretty closely. Uber and Lyft, in my opinion, were not going to leave. They threatened to leave on April 1st when the deal went through, And when it became clear the drivers were going to call their bluff, they pushed it back to May 1st. I've been following this pretty closely. Uber and Lyft did the same damn thing in Austin. They did the same thing in Seattle. When the government ordered them to pay the drivers properly, they threatened to pull out, and in every case, they didn't. Because at the end of the day, even if you pay them a few more bucks, there are so many customers in the Twin Cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul. They're not going anywhere. And if they did leave, another company would just fill the void. They never were going to leave.
Hey, we have another company now. Metro Transit, the bus system, has brought out another smaller bus like Your Ride, but they do it for people who want to get somewhere. So they was already set up. If Uber and Lyft had left, we were still going to be struggling.
I think another company called Empower is there too, because they reached out to me. They reached out to me to do advertising. So yeah, so I'm just glad at the end of the day. And by the way, it wasn't just the governor Tim Walz; it was also the mayor of Minneapolis. His name is Fry, because I covered him as well. Yeah, both of them were helping out Uber and Lyft. I did probably 10, 15 videos on both of them. And they both Democrats. I wasn't a fan of either one of them. But I got to move it on, King.
I'm good, bro.
You too. Moving the program on, by the way, Gretchen is owned by Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the only not-for-profit health insurance provider in the United States. I don't know if Mr. McKinnon, if Gretchen Wilson is. I'm not knowledgeable about Gretchen Whitmer over in Michigan. I don't know if she's owned by anybody, but I do believe, and this is where the left-leaning side of me comes out, I'm not a big fan on medicine for profit, healthcare for profit. Because at the end of the day, if something happens to you and you need to be, I don't want to say fixed, treated. If you need to be treated and you have no money, what happens? If the people that are responsible for treating you are doing it for profit. I'm just not a fan of healthcare for profit, and that's the way we do it in this country. Because the people who don't have a lot of money are not going to, if you're a capitalist, and we are a capitalist country, if you're a capitalist, the only concern is those who have enough money to pay for your good or your service. People who can't afford your goods or your services are not you don't have any need for them. And when we're talking about healthcare, to me, that's cruel. I'm not a fan of it. Looking in the comments, how's the stock market doing? Says James. I believe they rebounded today. Much worse yesterday. I believe the stock market has shown some rebounding. Looking in the comments, under Trump, everyone had vehicles, didn't need Lyft. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. That's when I was driving more. I personally was driving far more. Now, I've been doing rideshare off and on since 2014. So I've driven throughout a large portion of Obama's presidency, all of Trump's presidency, and to a lesser degree, Biden's presidency. And there was plenty of trips being taken throughout Trump's presidency. That's not true at all. Real quick, looking in and I've been doing videos for years. If you look at my YouTube page, my older videos, it's all about rideshare. It's all about rideshare. There was plenty of rideshare customers during the Trump administration. Trump tried to certify false electors and tried to steal the election. If he doesn't get reelected, that's how history probably is going to judge him. If Trump does not get reelected, history is probably going to judge him as trying to take the election. Dencal, thank you for the support. Good evening, Dencal. Just simply asking, Tim Walz, did you catch the speech? Say no to Kamala, say yes to Donald. Mari, good luck with that. That may happen, that may not. Dencal, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey.
Yeah, I just heard just small parts of the speech, but I just can't help but going back to that person that just said when Trump was in office, everybody had cars. Man, these people are delusional, man.
Listen, I will say there are people in this country that were doing better financially under Trump than they are under Biden. However, MAGA makes it sound like, Under Trump, people were living in mansions and driving Rolls Royces, and they're homeless under Biden. The disparity between Trump and Biden is not that free. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like yeah, right. There was no ghetto. The projects disappeared. Everybody was walking around looking like Mr. T with gold chains on. It wasn't like that. We all lived through it. It wasn't that fucking rich.
I talked to a young lady the other night, and she almost teared up when she was like, That's 1,600 I got under Trump. It changed my life. Yeah. I was like, what?
I mean, we were all there. I mean, my neighbors are the same neighbors they were back then. It's not like they had to trade in their Mercedes for a bit, for a Pinto. I didn't see this.
Yeah. And then they try to jump in here. Look, we had one pullback in the market the last 2 days, and they jumped. Oh, look, they ain't said nothing about all-time highs in the stock market for like the last 6 months. They ain't said what. 2 down days in the stock market. Oh my God, it's the Kamala crash.
Yeah. I really do think some people are trying to exaggerate it to make Biden look worse. I'm not saying that there hasn't been some difficult times under some of Biden's presidency, but they make it sound like the whole damn nation is going homeless. The Super Bowl was loaded. The WNBA can't even, they're having to put games in bigger stadiums because there's so many people showing up to WNBA games. Memorial Day, Independence Day, you had some of the most traveled holidays in the history of this country. We're not living that damn poor under Biden like that.
It took me almost 20 minutes to get some gas today because the gas station was so packed. Well, folks said, we can't afford gas, we can't afford food. And I guarantee you one thing, the obesity rate in this country has not gone down.
Right. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I talked to plenty of folks who are not, enduring any significant struggles under Biden. Some are, some are not. Most of the people that are struggling under Biden are MAGA. There's some liberals who will say the economy was a little bit better under Trump, but it's nowhere near to the degree that the Trump supporters are making it sound. Like people were just filthy rich under Trump. I don't know anybody like that.
He said they had more money in their pocket. I don't even know what that means. But hey, I just wanted to get to this part about him leaving, about Walz leaving the military after 24 plus years of service. Now, myself, I'm also a retired vet. I did 20 plus years. I had served. I could have re-enlisted and stayed on for another 3 or 6 years if I wanted to, but the contract said once you do 20 years from me, I'm gonna pay you a check for the rest of your life.
Right.
So when I got to the end of my 20, I was coming home from a 6-month cruise. And then on my cruise, I was expecting once I got back, I was going to rotate on to what they call shore duty. So I wouldn't be operating on a ship. I would be having a regular job. Mm-hmm. And I could spend more time with my family and all that good stuff.
Right.
On my way home from the cruise, they said they had another ship that had lost their chief engineer. And so they wanted me to transfer from one ship coming home from a cruise to another ship that was about to leave. And so I said, well, I'm supposed to rotate onto shore duty. And they said, well, right now it's called the needs of the Navy. And that way they can get around, their...
Right, that's what they were doing during the Iraq War, a backdoor draft where they were saying needs of the business, kind of like that.
Right, and I said, well, I got 20 years, so it's not really like the needs of the Navy. Like, I have some say-so in this, too. So we went back and forth, and so I decided to go ahead and retire. All right, so I did my 20 years, and I come to a situation that's not conducive to me, my family, my health, or whatever, and I decided to make that move. But I done already put in this 20-something years, and somebody tells me that I quit. You don't quit after 20 years of service.
Yeah.
There's no way Kamala Harris would have picked him if he had an AWOL or any type of negative, leaving. When you leave the military, I don't care who you are, it's people that say you quit.
Yeah, wow.
People that do 3 years, 5 years, whatever, the people you working with, because you need each other. You're a team. You're a group. There's some people that say when you walk away that you abandon them. But people got lives and stuff. After 24 years, I would have told them kick rocks too. No, I'm not about to go to no active war zone. I'm in my 40s. I ain't seen my family for 20 solid years, and you telling me I need to go? Nah.
Right. And that's kind of what I thought. And I see somebody in the comments, name Barbara says I quit after 8 years. That's exactly what. And thank you for your service too, Barbara, and you, Dencal, as I always say. But that's what I thought as well. I'm like, I'm not military, but the idea that if I had gave damn near a quarter century of my life, and at the end of that quarter century, I was told now it's time to go into combat. But you have an option to retire. I think a large portion of the military, if they were faced with those two choices, many people will retire.
Right, and he said, well, the people around him said that they feel like he quit on them. Yeah, because they pissed off because they about to go over there.
Right, yeah.
What's they gonna say? Like, what? You want us to die together? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, they say misery loves company. So you go into combat and you want me to go. Yeah, but I got the option after 24 years to step down. And by the way, he actually is still serving his country. I mean, he just simply went from military duty to put civil service in politics, but he's still serving his country. In fact, the guy was a teacher. I mean, everything he's done.
The young kids, in sports, and he's like the all-American dude for real.
Yeah.
If all they have to, if all they insults to him is that, he left his people in the military after 24. They grasping at straws right about now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was telling my caller, because he started out by saying that Tim Walz went AWOL, and I'm like, what? Like, you're telling me Kamala didn't vet? That sound like a hire that Trump would do, where he would put somebody on that went AWOL and don't know about it. Like, that's a really bad misstep.
And then he said, "Man, it's all over, man. It's all over. Look, just click, just hit your computer and say AWOL, and this picture gonna pop up." But I want to move my time along a little bit. When he was talking about when he was trying to understand that your decision to not vote for somebody that's going to give police immunity from prosecution. Yeah. Well, like that was like he was like, well, what else? Well, what else? Well, I mean, what else exactly do you need?
Right. I mean, I could die. I could be wrongfully in prison. I don't think. To me, that's all you need to hear.
Right. And what I would say to MAGA that's on this live right now, you look at that video of Sonia Massey and what happened to her, and just understand if he did what he said he wants to do from immunity from prosecution, that cop would have walked away and been still on somebody's streets today.
So would Derek Chauvin, George Floyd's killer too. He would also still be around somewhere. So yeah.
Exactly. So when they saying well, is that it? And just my last point is it's amazing, and I know the hypocrisy is there, and we pointed out and everything, but going from a campaign that just said a couple of days ago that hell the VP don't even matter. All they worried about.
I made a video I've been meaning to air about that. Is that now that you've seen Tim Walz, like, was Trump correct in saying the vice presidential pick don't matter? I think that Tim Walz is proving that is not the case.
Yeah. Now they all around the world trying to figure out what to say bad about this man. But I thought it didn't matter. Why is Trump even head exploding over this? They running around talking about they actually their camp is really happy that they picked him. That the Trump people, they say they happy they picked him because he was the worst candidate they could have picked.
Wow. I don't know. I'm still kind of hesitant on believing J.D. Vance will make it to the end. I wouldn't surprise me if Trump gets rid of J.D. Vance. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that is a possibility. I got to move it on, no Dencal.
All right, it's hard to say, but Yeah, he's sticking in there right now.
Right now.
He's shoulder to shoulder. He in it to win it.
Yeah, but he ain't helping Trump, and I think Trump knows that. I got to move it on. Good talk.
All right.
All right. And I seen in the comments on YouTube, someone stated that Biden had several deferments. Was that what I saw? By the way, rumor has it there's a shit ton of healthcare fraud convictions about ready to come down the pipeline. I don't know if that what that has to do with this stuff though. We're talking about the presidential, choice between Kamala and Walz versus Trump versus JD. I don't know what healthcare fraud has anything to do with that. What Biden? Oh, here we go. Jay Hallen says Biden had 5 deferments, so maybe you don't want to go down that road. I think Anthony, thank you for that subscription. Appreciate that, Anthony. I think the time to bring up criticisms of Biden has passed. He's not running anymore. You can point out anything you want about Biden. It doesn't reflect on Kamala at all. I mean, it's over with for Biden. If you want to say that Biden sucks, he had deferments as you're talking about, or anything else you want to bring up on Biden, what's the solution? He's leaving. So, yeah, I think the time to bring up something on Biden is kind of past. Biden may have passed. James says Biden may not be alive anyway. I don't know, but that's funny though. But no, Biden is still around. Before I continue on, I'm going to ask you folks on TikTok to tap the screen, get the likes up to about 70,000. We got a small audience here tonight. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm. I'm going to briefly reset YouTube. So for my YouTube viewers, understand I'll be back in about, I don't know, a minute or so. I'm going to reset the live on YouTube. On